Well, one of the issues when farmland is purchased is the allocation of value to various depreciable items. Fences, grain storage and facilities and the like, of course, come to mind. But what if the land has excess soil fertility? And joining us now to discuss is Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law. Roger, as always, thanks for taking the time today. Now, if the farmland has the excess soil fertility, can a value be assigned to the excess and, of course, also a tax benefit derived?
Well, Janet, the answer to that question is yes, if the excess value can actually be determined. And so there's a process that one has to go through to get that done. And basically what that's going to involve is the hiring of an agronomist or a soil scientist to come out and do grid sampling and establish what the base is in the area for comparable farms. And then based on the grid sampling, see if you actually have an excess or what's known as a residual fertilizer supply. Then in that instance, there's a way to go about getting a tax benefit for that excess amount.
And what is the IRS procedure to follow to obtain that tax benefit for the excess fertilizer supply?
Well, once you establish the presence of it, then you have to establish the extent of it, and that's what the soil scientist or the agronomist will do. And it's the same rationale. So if you got actual excess soil fertility in excess of the base, normally that's going to bring a price premium. You're paying for that, just like when you buy farmland that has good fences or field drainage tile and grain storage facilities on it. You pay for that. So there's a price premium that applies, and you should get a tax benefit for that. Now, if you've got the documentation for it, there is an IRS procedure to go through. And so what you have to do is you make your allocation of value to those depreciable items. And then if you establish beneficial ownership of that and you didn't previously farm it as a tenant in the year prior to buying the farmland, then you can get a deduction. And obviously you're going to have some cost, probably about $4 to $8 per acre to get the soil testing done. But the benefits can be, depending on the soil type, once you set it up and amortize it over probably about 3 to 5 years, basically you're going to get about $50 to anywhere up to about $700, $750, maybe $800 per acre based on the value of that land that I've seen. And so there's a way to do that. IRS gave us some guidelines 20, 25 years ago on this, and just follow those guidelines. Now, some states may have some issues with it, and that's a different story. So depending on the position of the state, you may or may not be able to do it. But the IRS says it's okay if you follow their rules.
I'm taking this into consideration, and we're getting ready to close the calendar year of 2018. What is the big takeaway, and is this something they need to address now or in the springtime?
Well, I think it's one of those things you address anytime you buy a farm. Don't forget that you can allocate that purchase price to depreciable items. And in certain parts of the country, that might be an excess or residual fertilizer supply. And so if you've got the data, a tax benefit's available, but you got to follow the IRS rules. And that's the take home on this. Don't forget that you might have a tax benefit associated with excess fertilizer supply when you buy a farm.
All right. Well, Roger, as always, thank you very much for your insight. Roger McEowen, he's with the Washburn University School of Law, joining us on the phone today from Topeka, Kansas.